What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome to today's video. This has been a video that I've chopped up, re-recorded about 10 different times because I want to try to... I don't want to step on toes. I don't know who's going to be listening. I don't want to blacklist a channel, but ultimately it needs to happen. I need to come out and say it because if you look at my Madden 19 review, did very, very well for views. I feel like a bunch of people out there would have listened to my review because they trust my opinion, clearly, and they might have made a purchase of Madden 19 and they weren't satisfied with that purchase. And I feel like I need to own it up to the score that I gave from that original review and all the positives and negatives, re-break it down, and just give a brand new review of Madden 19. Now that we're here, 6 months since the game came out, we're now in 2019, where I'm at. But back at my Madden 19 review, I gave the game an 8 out of 10. However, I did put a safety net of, if they don't fix some of these things that I clearly think could have been easily fixed, give this game a 7. So now that we're looking back in retrospect, they didn't fix those things. I can shave that 1 point off and say I gave Madden 19 a 7 out of 10. Is that still too generous of a grade? Do I still feel like, in my opinion, knowing what I know right now, putting in as many, if not the most hours in Madden 19 for the quote-unquote bigger content creators here on YouTube, can I still live with a 7 out of 10? Well, that's kind of what I'm going to find out here. But, aside from the fact that I just didn't feel good having, a popular Madden 19 review, which I don't feel holds up right now, is just looking at the state of the Madden community. I mean, I started doing NCAA instead of Madden for a bit, and I will do it as soon as I can get my recording software to work again, which hopefully will be like later next week. I'm still in discussion with Elgato's customer service. But you look right now at a bunch of people that are really, really well-known franchise YouTubers. You got Not the Expert. You got Param Crow. You got RBT. Like all these guys that are known in the franchise mode community, they are playing less and less Madden and playing more and more NCAA. Hell, Not the Expert completely rebranded his channel to be almost like NCAA first, Madden second, and he's growing more than ever before. So as someone that has played NCAA and put NCAA content up since 2013, and obviously has done my own thing, and I don't think it's that unreasonable to say that NCAA right now on YouTube is a more thriving, growing, vibrant section than Madden is right now. And I feel like if you're the Madden devs, you're looking at this as, these YouTubers are massive for how Madden is presented. These YouTubers are free advertising, they're free publicity, they help move copies of the game. The fact that less and less of that content is being produced, obviously you got the gamblers and stuff like that to play MUT, but for the franchise stuff, less and less of that is being produced, and you just see a game that can't be monetized. It can't be, it's not going to help EA in any way, shape, or form doing that much more better. It's just kind of, a red alert, I would think, if you're one of the members on the Madden dev team. And it's enough for me to say, why is this? Why is this franchise? Why is Madden getting smoked by a 6-year-old game? And I don't think ultimately it comes down to the fact that it's college versus pros. It's just, it's gameplay, it's features, it's everything in between. So as we jump into a review, I'm going to give a quick kind of Cliff Notes version of my original Madden 19 review, which we gave ultimately a 7 out of 10. It's called The Good, The Bad, The Ugly. In the review, I said the goods. I thought the PC graphics, just everything being on PC was positive. I thought the beta was an awesome idea. In terms of gameplay, I thought the play calling in the original version of the game was much better than Madden 18. Tackle animations, wide receiver DB battles, the off season from the AI, that was all better than what we saw in Madden 18. Same with the sim stats. They had the new features like the archetypes in franchise mode, custom draft classes, entirely new presentation. I thought all those things were welcome additions to the game. When we went to the bad, I said the slow player movements, screen passes didn't work, some of the worst run blocking I've ever seen, default sliders are unplayable, challenge system doesn't work, player regression is ridiculous, and the same two teams, the Redskins and the Dolphins, overbidding in free agency every year is ridiculous. And then for the ugly, I said there's no historical stat tracking, there's no draft class randomizer for those of us that spend 100 hours creating draft classes. Kind of sucks knowing all the players' overalls. And the fact that scouting was copy and paste for the last couple years, when you see other games under the EA umbrella continually reinventing their franchise mode, but ultimately the scouting, the fact that Madden's been the exact same the last couple years is unacceptable. So that's kind of where we're at with our original review. Some of that stuff still holds true, but I asked you guys on my Twitter to kind of, I feel like that's the good segue. I said, what do you guys, the public, what do you guys feel about Madden 19? What's the good, the bad, the ugly from your guys' point of view? And here's some of the responses that we got. So that's what you guys were thinking, and I don't want to do another good, bad, the ugly. We'll save that for just the initial reviews. I kind of just want to take it into, if you got Madden right now, as someone that has played hours and hours, hundreds of hours of Madden right now, if you popped into franchise mode, you popped into the game for the very first time, what would you say would be good? What would you say would be bad? What can I tell you would be good? What can I say that you will enjoy? What can I say you won't enjoy? Hey, if you don't like this kind of features, don't get this game. I know it's a little bit too late for most of you, but this is a review that needs to get done. So, the good. What is currently good in the state of Madden 19? Well, I think that if you play on PC, for one, it is still running very, very smoothly. It's much faster than what it is on console. I'm at a point where I don't even want to play Madden on my console just because it feels like I'm stuck in my lasses in the load screens and all that stuff. Like, half the features that happen in the loading screens in Madden franchise mode on console, I didn't even know existed because PC is so quick. I like it. The custom draft classes in franchise mode are fun. Go to someone like myself. When they work, I've had people saying there's a lot of issues downloading them from the roster share. But draft classes add that much more realism into your franchise modes. I got 3 of them up myself. Even though there's still some issues with them, if you are one that wants to create your own draft classes, like occasionally, I know in one of my draft classes, Grant Delpit is like the #1 overall prospect, but for whatever reason, he goes into the 7th round, and I've tried a couple different fixes, and I just don't know how to get to work. So some of the prospects in these custom draft classes will be glitched, but you know, you expect with something that is kind of a big-ish new feature, there are going to be some issues. The fact that it hasn't been patched is a little bit worrisome, but all in all, ultimately, you got to say that the custom draft classes add something. The player archetypes in franchise mode are still pretty fun. They add a unique way of developing your players, and while, yeah, we saw one of the Twitter comments, you can't really develop your traits, or if you really want to upgrade your awareness, you can't really do that, or your injury, you can't really do that. It kind of limits you, but I still think it offers more good than it does bad because it's a little bit more realistic, because in real life, you can't just take an injury-prone player and spend 10 points or whatever to grow his injury rating. They're just going to grow and develop at their own pace, and you can't always control what attributes are going to go up in real life. You can just take a guy and have him work on the jugs machine, and he might not ever grow his catching rating, but because he's going on the jugs machine, his IQ, his awareness might go up. You know what I'm saying? I feel like ultimately the archetypes are a little bit more realistic approach to how players should develop. Obviously, the presentation in connected franchise mode is pretty nice. That's about it. That's about all I can say right now. When it goes to the bad, there's lots of bad. And obviously, people always want to be negative. It's much more easier to be negative of a game than it is to be positive, especially when it comes to Madden. But as of right now, the state of the game is not in a great spot. A lot of things from the Madden 19 review and what you guys have told me I still reign true. They haven't been fixed. The players still seem slow. Screen passes don't really work. The run blocking is ridiculous in this game. It's either you make the sliders so easy that every other run's like a 50-yard touchdown, or it feels like more than 50% of your runs are tackled behind the line of scrimmage, regardless of what your offensive line's rating is, regardless of what the defensive line, the defensive front seven you're going up's ratings are. The default sliders in this game are horrific. Obviously, the game's been out long enough that, for example, I like Mat 10 sliders on All Pro. It seems to give me the best gameplay, but you don't have a hope in hell of using default sliders and enjoying your time playing this game. The challenge system is still non-existent. The player aggression is still far too extreme. As someone that has some of the top XP sliders, I know a lot of people use my XP sliders. The XP sliders are extreme so that you don't have that huge regression wall that hits when, say, you have a 30-plus-year-old player that's playing at the top of his game. You might have AP. We had in a video where AP almost won the MVP. He was runner-up, and then he had like a 6-point regression, and his speed was non-existent anymore. He lost like 8 points of speed. Like, what's going on there? So those high sliders are to compensate for that. But there's always a downside. You go extreme on something, you're going to have to deal with a negative. So because of the bad regression, you have to have high sliders so that your players develop faster so they don't regress as bad. But because of that, you're going to have AI teams, because those sliders are applied to everyone in your save. You're going to have the AI teams that are stacked and overpowered to the gills, like the Dallas Cowboys, like the Rams, with very generous dev traits. They're going to become superstar teams because they're also getting that XP boost. That's why when you do Sims, if you use my sliders, you're going to commonly see the same couple teams go deep in the playoffs, because those are the teams that most benefit from having the high XP sliders. You know, obviously, there's no draft class randomizer for those of us that spend hundreds and hundreds of hours on draft classes. The scouting sucks. Historical stat tracking doesn't exist. But now we're at a point where the biggest issue with Madden 19, ultimately, and we see it the most common, is the scripting / gameplay. And as someone that's not a game changer, someone that doesn't have direct content to developers and the dev team and all, just, you know, all that stuff, I can only give you what I've heard and what I've been able to test and what I've seen myself when it comes to gameplay. It just feels like I thought the gameplay was right, And when they first released it, I thought it was as good as it could be. It was acceptable. And then it just seemed like, from what I could tell, a lot of the dudes that sell the competitive players, they were complaining that, the user versus user experience wasn't very good. They started to tinker with the gameplay, and that just completely ruined what I thought was an acceptable version of user versus AI. And then that all kind of just every single patch that they started to release, the gameplay between user and computer got worse. And it was just because they're catering to a very, very small market of the Madden segment player base. From that, you get a lot of people that say the scripting is bad. For those of you that don't know what scripting is, there's two types of scripting. One of them obviously affects me a little bit more than the most general people, but the other types of scripting are the traits. I feel like the traits have far too much influence over the gameplay. You have the clutch trait, which is something that some players get. I don't even think you can earn it, but some players have the clutch trait. And what the clutch trait has been, what's led me to believe, people that are working on gameplay mods have been able to jump in under the hardware here on PC, is, don't quote me word for word, this could still be off base, I'm just kind of regurgitating what I've looked at, is like, for example, the clutch trait. You ever notice when like a really bad computer quarterback doesn't do anything for the first 3 quarters, but then in the 4th quarter they're unstoppable? Like, they don't miss a throw. Like, that's something that's very rage-inducing for a lot of us. That's because of the dev trait. That dev trait kicks in, and they're going to be a lot more predetermined completions and predetermined just absolute darts thrown from the quarterback. Same goes for do they make sideline grabs. You're going to see a lot of ridiculous animations come on the sideline if they have that trait enabled. Fight for the yards is the worst one. You can have fight for the yards. You know that the worst thing ever is when you have short yardage. You're already trying to go up in a game that has very, very bad run blocking, and you're like, all right, we're going to get right up on the line. And look, you might even have open blocking, and you're like, there's clearly a first down. There's no way with this player's momentum that he's not going to get that first down, and then that defender hits that just wall tackle on you. You go backwards, you have 0 momentum, and it ends up being 4th and inches. That very despised 4th and inches that you get often, and that's because your play, I guarantee you look back at your player, guarantee doesn't have fight for yards. You have that fight for yards on, those wall tackles seem a lot less common, and you're going to get that first down more often than not. So I think ultimately the reason why we're seeing issues with this gameplay is all these traits, whatever these traits have in terms of manipulation and coding that goes into the gameplay, it's too much. It is far too much. They need to scrap all that and just make it simple. Just make it simple. When I want to go to a hard difficulty, I don't want one player just being able to trigger certain animations and just completely set the gameplay off. I only want is what we had in the old Madden games. I want it where when I'm playing on a hard difficulty, I'm not going to be trying to ask you to build that wall, something that's clearly never going to happen. I just want my good players to remain good players, and I want their good players to play better. I don't want my players dumbed down. I don't want my 99 overall tackle giving up sacks left, right, and center to a 65 overall speed rusher. I don't want to see my 99 overall wide receiver drop a wide open pass across the middle in the 4th quarter because he doesn't have the clutch trait every time. Like, it's one of those things too. They overdo it. Like, yeah, if you're the Patriots and in your franchise mode, you've gone to 3 straight Super Bowls, you won 3 straight Super Bowls, and then the 4th Super Bowl, you'll lose it because your star wide receiver dropped one pass once. Yeah, that should absolutely happen. It happens in real life. We saw it with Alshon Jeffrey in the playoffs this year in real life. But the fact that all these really weird occurrences seem to happen more often than not in franchise mode. You see those 8-6-2 teams make the playoffs and go on Super Bowl runs more often than not. You see that upset in the playoffs happen. Your 99 offense, 99 defense gets upset by a team that's like a modest 85 overall. That's the norm. That happens more often than not. All these scripting things that are supposed to maybe throw a wrench, be a wild card, be the Maverick in Madden franchise modes, the fact that they happen more often than not, for those of us that are diehards, for those of us that are in franchise mode, doing the draft classes, building our teams to try to fit our archetypes, doing all the right things to try and make this and keep this franchise world as realistic as possible, the fact that it constantly feels like the scripting in this game is out here to provide that wow factor, and for what I can say more often than not, it's that negative, oh my god, wow factor to those of us that want to feel rewarded. They want to feel that sense of, here's a meme for those of you on Reddit, that sense of pride and accomplishment that comes with building a team and growing that team and developing that team and finding those studs and building them up. And just to have that screwed up by all this scripting is not rewarding whatsoever. So the only thing that I can kind of wrap this up to is Madden and franchise mode, obviously, and it kind of goes into gameplay. They don't know what they want to be. With all the scripting, all the heavy stuff, all the ways that this game can take the control of your team out of your hands, They do that for the people that are casual. They do that for the casual player, and it feels like Madden is at this weird spot where they don't know if they want to make franchise mode in particular and gameplay to a lesser extent cater to casual players or cater to their diehard fan base. And I feel like when you have that inability to balance the two, because there is a fine balance, we've seen it in other titles. You're never going to have a good quality game. You're never going to have a game that has a fantastic quality of life that people want and are willing to play your game until the next redemption's out. That's why there's so many people leaving Madden 19, because you look at NCAA, the longevity in NCAA. NCAA was ultimately made for the diehard. There's so many different things in NCAA. Obviously, you can turn computer on, but to maximize your NCAA dynasty, it's confusing. If you're just some casual person, you're just going to tick all that stuff off and just go through the motions like you normally would. But to get the most out of all the features that NCAA offers, it gives you that longevity. That's why there's so many people that want to play NCAA. The gameplay is a lot more realistic. If you're not very good at NCAA, you're not going to play well. You're not going to win a lot of games because the game punishes you if you're not very good. So when you look at all those things, NCAA is so successful. It's so fun right now because it is and offers that franchise, that gameplay that us diehards have been craving. But when you look at what Madden can bring you, it's just this cookie cutter, vanilla, bland franchise mode that might get this, Timmy that's never watched football in his life, but kind of got this game because of EA Pass, want to stick around because, he might not be the best at this game, but ridiculous things keep happening, and I'll keep him coming back. But the diehards, we could see right through it, and we could just see that, this is not the product that we want, and we expect a lot better. We hope, we pray that Madden 20 is going to be a lot better. So in terms of that and how I feel like that's the biggest issue right now with Madden, especially for franchise. As a franchise guy, they don't know what they want to be between a casual game or offering something to the diehards, or for whatever reason they can't realize that they can be like NCAA, where NCAA you can have all these in-depth features, or you could just as easily tick them off and let the computer do it, so you have that balance. That being said, what is my rating? What is my rating right now for Madden 19? I gave Madden 18, which I said was my least favorite Madden I've ever played, a 4 out of 10. I originally gave this an 8. I knocked it down to a 7. I feel like there's still a decent amount of redeeming qualities Madden 19. I'm definitely more inclined, and I'm still enjoying Madden 19 at this point in January, at the beginning of 2019, than I was last year in 2018 with Madden 18. I was done with that game. That game was an absolute chore to play. So I'm going to give Madden 19 right now, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. So it's 2 points better than Madden 18. I feel like a 6 out of 10 is fair. I feel like if you want to play a football game and your only options are 18 or 19 and you still haven't made the jump, I definitely think 19 is fun. Definitely look at getting it if you have the specs on PC, because all the mods right now that are pretty much getting close to being done. Obviously, you have the NCAA mod. There's something called a Nectar mod that has like a bunch of gameplay adjustments and stuff. That's actually where I use a lot of my references for people that are kind of explaining how those traits and stuff like that affect the gameplay and affect the scripting. There's just a bunch of more quality of life things that are available to you on PC than on console. But obviously, I know a gaming PC isn't in everyone's budget. So there you go, man. Thanks you guys for helping me out on Twitter. Give me some replies and watching this video. What do you guys feel about Madden 19? Ultimately, in the comments, let me know. Obviously, there could be another wish list video coming later. I did one real early. I did one like in September, because that's ultimately when I felt like if I could get any momentum, any traction on features that I wanted, it could get implemented in the Madden 20 cycle. Like any video you see come out now, that's like my wish list for Madden 20. It's far too late. The game's already been, like, the game right now is probably 60 to 75% completed for what they're going to release. So that is what it is. But yeah, let me know what you guys feel about the game. As always, thank you for watching. Tomorrow will be the first preseason game of the Replacements franchise, so make sure you tune back in for that. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.